My name is Daniel Pruett. I've been the security supervisor at Harcourt General Hospital for 8 years. My job is access control, incident response, and the kind of quiet problem solving that hospitals generate in volume. A confused visitor, a distressed patient, a staff dispute that needs a steady presence. I've seen a great many things in 8 years. I want to tell you about the morning in March when I watched a hospital administrator escort a nurse toward the exit and a helicopter landed on our roof 15 minutes later. I was at the East Corridor station at 7:40 in the morning. The day shift was 8 hours into a busy overnight. We had taken a multi-vehicle accident in the early hours, and the overnight nursing staff had been running hard. The staff in the corridor were tired. The nurse I am going to call Nurse Callan, that is not her name, but I am not comfortable using her real name without her permission, was one of the overnight contract staff. She had been assigned to the third-floor surgical step-down unit. She was in her late 20s, as best I could judge, with a practical manner and the kind of quiet efficiency I have learned to recognize in staff who know what they are doing. She wore teal scrubs. She had been on shift for 11 hours. At 7:40, she was walking the corridor toward the east elevator when she was intercepted by Mr. Landis from hospital administration. I knew Landis. He managed staff contracts for several of the floors and had a reputation for decisions made on paper without reference to the floor. He walked alongside her and spoke to her in a lowered voice. I was close enough to hear the substance of it. He told her that a complaint had been filed by a patient's family member on the third floor, that the complaint alleged she had been dismissive and failed to explain the care plan adequately, and that until the complaint was reviewed, she was being asked to complete her shift documentation and leave the building. I watched Nurse Callan absorb this. She did not raise her voice. She did not argue. She said, "I will complete the documentation." She said it with a particular quality of calm that I have seen in people who are angry but have made a decision about how to handle it. Landis said, "I'll walk with you to the workstation and then to the exit," she said. "That's not necessary," he said. "It's procedure," she said. "All right." I watched them walk to the nursing workstation on the third floor. She sat down and completed her end-of-shift documentation. I could see the workstation from the corridor, and she did it correctly and without rush, which I noted because most people, escorted out of a job under those circumstances, do not do their paperwork correctly. She finished. She logged out. She picked up her bag. She thanked the night charge nurse. She thanked the CNAs on the floor. She said, "Good morning, everyone." She said it the way someone says it when they mean it, and not the way someone says it when they are being pointed at the door. Landis walked her to the elevator. I was in the elevator lobby because I had been following the situation at a distance. Not my place to intervene in a staffing matter, but something in the quality of what I had watched made me want to be present. Nurse Callan came out of the elevator on the ground floor with her bag, and Landis gestured toward the front exit, and she nodded and walked toward it. I was about to go back to my station. My radio crackled. It was the roof access officer. He said, "We have an aircraft inbound to the helipad. It's not on the schedule." I said, "What kind of aircraft?" He said, "Military helicopter. I'm looking at it now. It is not trauma configured." I said, "Hold the pad." I was still holding my radio when I heard the engine sound from above. Not a trauma bird, which is a sound I know well. This was a different machine, with a different weight to it. It set down on our roof at approximately 7:58. My radio went again. A voice I did not recognize said, "This is Colonel Wilder, United States Marine Corps. We have a brief ground stop at Harcourt General. I need to speak with nursing staff on shift regarding a matter of official record. Please do not detain anyone from the overnight crew." I said, "Copy." "Can you tell me the nature of the visit?" he said. "We're here to see Nurse Callan." I will tell you that I ran back to the front entrance. Not something I normally do. I reached the lobby in time to see Nurse Callan with her hand on the push bar of the front door, and I said, "Please hold one moment, ma'am." She turned and looked at me. I said, "There's a Marine helicopter on the roof. They're here for you." She looked at me for a long moment. Her expression was not what I expected. It was not surprise. It was something more complicated. A person weighing something that is caught up with them before they were ready. She said, "How many?" I said, "I don't know yet." We took the elevator to the roof access corridor. Colonel Wilder was a broad man in service uniform with a chest that told a story. He was accompanied by 3 others. When the door opened and Nurse Callan stepped through, Colonel Wilder came to attention and saluted. She returned the salute with a precision that told me everything I had not known about her. He said, Sergeant Callan, we've been looking for a way to do this properly for 2 years. We heard you were here. We had a window. We used it. She said, how did you know about? She stopped. She said, Captain Reyes. He said, Captain Reyes is at Bethesda. He walks with 1 cane now instead of 2. He sends his regards and says the debt is not settled and it won't be. She stood on the roof of Harcourt General Hospital with her overnight bag on her shoulder in the early morning. The rotors were turning at idle. It was cold and clear. She did not say anything for a moment. Then she said, he was stable when I handed him off. I didn't know if, Colonel Wilder said, he's fine. He is at 31% of pre-injury function above what the surgeons projected. The surgeons would like to know what you did in the field. The answer in his file says unconventional stabilization protocol and a question mark. She said something then that I could not fully hear over the rotors. He responded and she nodded twice. They presented her with a unit coin and a formal letter. The letter was folded. She put it in her bag without reading it. Colonel Wilder shook her hand. She shook hands with all 3. They reboarded the helicopter, which lifted inside of 4 minutes. She stood on the roof and watched it go. I stood with her, because it seemed wrong to leave. After a while, she said, I need to go file a response to the complaint. I said, you do not need to worry about the complaint. She looked at me. I said, I heard it from the beginning. You explained the care plan 3 times. I am prepared to say so in writing. She considered this. She said, you don't have to do that. I said, I know. She nodded. She picked up her bag. She said, I'm sorry you had to deal with the helicopter. I said, it was the least inconvenient helicopter I have ever dealt with. She went back inside. I wrote my statement that afternoon. The complaint was reviewed and found without basis. Landis filed a separate process inquiry and it went nowhere. Nurse Callan came back the following Thursday. She asked for a different floor than 3rd. She got the cardiac step-down unit, which is a harder assignment. She said she preferred it. I have been the security supervisor at Harcourt General for 8 years. I have escorted people toward exits, and I have been wrong about what I was watching. I try to be more careful now about what I think I know when I look at a nurse in teal scrubs carrying a bag down a corridor at 7:40 in the morning. A Marine helicopter is a hard thing to argue with.